Welcome everyone. All right, today I am here to tell you why gasoline cars are better than electric cars. All right, I'm assuming everyone here has their own vehicle that they drive. Am I correct?
Yes,
All right.
Yes.
Jeremy, what do you drive?
I drive a 2003 Silverado.
All right. Uh, Dr. Dre, what do you drive?
I drive a Subaru WRX.
Okay. And Bill Bandy, what do you drive?
I drive a Chevy Silverado.
Oh, okay. All right. Very good. Those are all gasoline engine cars. Interesting. Has everyone heard of a Tesla?
Yes,
Yes.
All right. Jeremy, would you ever own a Tesla?
Yes.
Okay. Draven, would you ever own a Tesla?
No.
And Bill, would you ever own a Tesla?
probably not.
Okay. Why would both of you, why would you not own a Tesla?
Because I feel that combustion vehicles engines are better than electric vehicles.
All right. Then you'll like my presentation today. How about you, Bill?
Too long to recharge them.
Okay. And Jeremy, why would you own a Tesla?
It's cheaper in the long run.
Okay. Well, I'll start off by giving you basically my opinions on what I think, and then I will share a little bit of history and some facts that I've collected from 7 different sources, and hopefully to back up my claim. And then hopefully by the end of this, you will agree with me. So first, my opinion, obviously gasoline combustion engine is better than electric. And I feel it's that way because you have more control, you can drive it, like you really feel it. Like when you hit the gas pedal, like it causes a chain reaction of things happening, and then it makes you go instead of just basically just clicking a pedal and then blah 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 go. There's just a certain feeling, and then they're easier to work on with an electric car. It's like if it allows you, you might be able to change a flat tire. You never know. But yeah, I do think electric cars are cool. I think the technology is cool, but I still prefer a gasoline car. And the reason that is because you can't do stuff like this. Gasoline car, you can do that. I've never seen a Tesla do it like an actual burnout. I've seen like there's like the Audi race car, electric race car that can do burnouts and stuff, but like a normal street car that's electric, I've never seen them do actual burnouts. I may have missed it, I don't know. But the sound and the feeling of doing a burnout like this, I feel like it does not compare to an electric car. So first, for some history, around the 1880s is when the electric cars or the EVs started to become popular. People liked them because of it was like the first form of like rapid transportation. It was quick. They did have some problems though. The batteries didn't last very long, and they were super heavy, and they needed a lot of them to power the cars. I saw on Aaron Gold on Motor Trend, he wrote an article about it, and he was talking about how people would say it only took about 10 minutes of practice on an EV, and people were getting the hang of it and being able to drive it around. But the old cars back then, they were much harder to drive because you had all this stuff to control and pedals and all that stuff. And then some batteries would even melt through and eat through on some of the cars. Oh, another thing was electric cars, it would be easier to drive but harder to work on and maintain. And then the gas cars would be easier to work on and maintain, but harder to drive. So yeah, I with a few websites, Bloody, Cars.com, and AutoWeek, came up with a little list of pros and cons for electric and gas cars. So first is for the pros and cons of the electric cars. Some of the pros are low maintenance, lower cost per mile, and they have good performance because as soon as you hit the pedal, it's instant power. You don't have to wait for stuff to happen. And obviously, there's not much to maintain on them. The cons, they're higher costs. They do have a limited charging spots. They're getting more popular, but for now, they're still a little limited. And the range limitations and battery life. There was, I don't remember who I was talking to, but someone I knew, their friend had bought a Tesla and they wanted to have it so they could drive between Houston and Dallas, which is 4 hours apart. And they would get in the Tesla and it would say they had so many miles till they had to recharge. And it was plenty to make it to Dallas and back. But by the time she started driving, she ended up having to recharge by the time before she even made it there. And so it ran out a lot. It always ran out a lot quicker than it said it would. And now for the pros and cons of the gasoline cars. For the pros, it's obviously easier to find a gas station. You've got pretty much one on every corner. Usually they're cheaper. You can find a $500 Honda Civic that'll run 1 million+ miles. And the cons, the volatile price, environmental impact, because obviously every time you turn it on, you're emitting carbon monoxide. And then the periodic maintenance, obviously change the oil and all that stuff every so often. So while there is that, the EVs, everyone usually thinks that the EVs have zero emissions, but they actually they produce a little bit, and even the factories and stuff have a little bit of a carbon footprint. I saw in the New York Times, Brad Plummer said there was a study on the Chevy Bolt, and it actually every mile it was driven produced 189 grams of carbon. And then on CNBC, they even stated this question: are EVs greener? Yes, but many years from now. So maybe, of course, in the long run, they'll be greener and stuff. But for now, they're still not perfect. They're still developing stuff. Yeah. So that's why I think gasoline is better. Electric cars are more restrictive. They're basically impossible to work on. The battery life fear. When I was up in Connecticut, I was talking with Wayne Carini, and he had bought a Tesla for him and his wife to go out on weekends for date nights and stuff like that. And every time they'd get in it, they were always afraid that, like, okay, well, maybe we can make it this far, but will we be able to make it back? Well, there's no charging stations over there, and well, will we even be able to make it out there? And so they got so tired of worrying about it, they never drove it, and so we got rid of it pretty quickly. And then, of course, no burnouts or awesome engine noises. So there's that. And then a quote I like from Carroll Shelby is, there's a point at 7,000 RPM where everything fades, the machine becomes weightless and just disappears. That is it. That is why I think electric cars are better. Does anyone have any questions?
I'd like to say, Mason, that was a very good presentation, very good speech. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
So your overall opinion is that for now, EVs are kind of obviously still in the works, and you wouldn't own one now, but in the future, when let's say they are better for the environment, would you per se at that point in life maybe possibly own one?
I think it would be possible. I have driven one, and I did enjoy it. It was a fun drive. So I don't completely hate them, but I still prefer to have the control over a gasoline car. But I I think it is possible at some point I would maybe own one, at least for a little while.
Okay. Good to know. Very good to know.
What would you change to make you want electric vehicle more?
If it had a
Maybe there's a
gasoline
battery?
engine in it. Probably if they were able to get it more consistent with the battery life, that way you could have less of a fear of being stranded, because it's not like whenever you get stranded in an electric car, it's not like you can just have a buddy go get you a can of gas and refill it and just keep going. Like you got to charge it, and so it's like, well, if I get stranded out here, how do I get back? So it's kind of a if it was maybe more charging stations and definitely more of a consistency with the battery life, so you won't have to be as worried and you know how far you can go and stuff like that. Any other questions?
Would you decrease regulations on gas engines and increase them on electric vehicles in the future?
I feel like, of course, the regulations on the gasoline engine should be a little less, especially in places like California and the Northeast. I feel like if they're going to regulate like crazy on the gasoline engines, they should do the same to the electric vehicles and the projections of the electric vehicles.
I'd like to say can you go back to that slide where it said that there were the Chevy, what was it, the Bolt produced
Yes.
189 what was
Grams
it?
of carbon.
every mile it's driven.
Yes.
So that in itself, I would say that's pretty I don't know, something that they don't really tell you when you purchase an EV of any sort.
Yeah, and a gasoline car is typically like in the 300s of the grams of carbon, so it's definitely much less, but it's probably I had no idea it even produced any. So after the research, I was surprised.
Agreed.
Well, if no one has any questions, that will be the end of the presentation. So thank you everyone for coming.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you for having us, Mr. Mason Ball.
Thank you, Mr. Ball.